The sky burned red. On the far edge of a dying battlefield, the alien warrior Kalara stumbled through fire and smoke. Her armor, once shining silver, was now broken and black. Sparks flew from her chest plate. Blood-deep purple ran down her side. The ground shook with every distant explosion. She looked up. Her warship was leaving the planet's orbit. They had abandoned her. She fell to one knee. Her lungs were failing. The breathing unit on her mask flickered. Her hands trembled. She had fought bravely for her people, for honor, but in the end, they had left her behind like trash. Kalara touched the side of her helmet and whispered something in her native tongue. A message to no one. A final goodbye. She collapsed beside a pile of alien rubble, her weapon sliding from her fingers. Her eyes began to close. Her last thought was simple. Let me die now. There is nothing left. Silence. Darkness. Cold. Then light. Kalara gasped. Her eyes shot open. Her lungs pulled in a strange kind of air, rich, soft, warm. She was not dead. She was lying on something soft. Not metal, not stone. A bed? Yes, a human-style bed. Clean sheets, a pillow under her head, and the air. It smelled like old machines and something sweet. Pain returned slowly like a wave. Her ribs ached. Her leg felt wrapped. Her armor was gone. She was wearing something soft like earth fabric. She turned her head. A figure sat on a chair nearby. Human, male, watching her carefully, not afraid, not angry, just curious. Her first instinct was to attack. Her hand moved toward her side, where she usually kept a hidden knife, but it wasn't there. The man noticed her movement. He raised both hands slowly, like a peace gesture. His voice was calm, quiet. You don't need a weapon here, he said. You're safe now. Kalara stared at him. The human was tall, rough-looking, with oil stains on his clothes. Engineer type, not a soldier. His name tag read Jake. She didn't reply. Her translator implant was slow, still recovering. Words came late. He stood up and walked to a small table. There was a glass of water. He brought it to her. Try this, he said, placing it near her hand. She didn't move. Just watched him with sharp eyes. She had seen human videos before. Military training showed many things, but this human looked different, tired, yes, but not dangerous. He looked like someone who spent years alone. Jake spoke again, softer. You crash-landed 2 days ago. Your pod hit just a mile from my station. Lucky I found you in time. Kalara tried to sit up. Her muscles screamed. She fell back with a grunt. Jake didn't help her, he just watched. Maybe he knew touching her without permission was a bad idea. I patched you up, he added. Mostly, I had to remove the armor. It was frying your body. You had what, plasma burns? Still, she said nothing. Just stared at the ceiling, listening, thinking. Why? Would a human save her? Her people told her humans were wild, violent, dangerous. A primitive race not worthy of space travel. She had trained to fight them, but this one had saved her life. Where am I? She finally whispered. Her voice was weak but clear. Jake smiled, just a little. Moonbase, old mining site. I work maintenance here. You're lucky. If I hadn't picked up your signal, you'd still be out there, or dead. Kalara touched her side. The bandages were tight. Her body was healing. Slowly. Why save me? She asked. Jake shrugged. Because you were falling from the sky and bleeding out. Seemed like the right thing to do. That answer didn't make sense. Not in her world. Saving a wounded enemy was not logic. It was weakness. But something in Jake's voice was real, honest. He walked away, gave her space. Let her rest. As she drifted back into sleep, her thoughts were not of war or betrayal. They were of warm air, soft sheets. The strange human. And for the first time since the battle, She didn't want to die. She didn't sleep long. Alien instincts didn't allow that, not in a strange place, not near an enemy. Kalara opened her eyes in the dark, heart racing, every sound louder than it should be. Somewhere nearby, a fan buzzed softly, pipes hissed. Lights blinked gently on the walls. She sat up. Her body still hurt, but she ignored the pain. Slowly, silently, she slid off the bed. Bare feet touched the cold metal floor. She looked around. There, her armor. It was lying on a small table, cleaned, repaired, carefully placed, piece by piece. No human would do that for a dangerous alien unless they were curious. Or kind. Both were dangerous. A soft voice spoke. Behind her, "You're not strong enough to stand, you know." She spun around, ready to strike, but stumbled. Her legs gave way. Before she could hit the floor, strong arms caught her. Jake. He lowered her gently back onto the bed. No anger, no fear. Just calm hands and a tired face. "You're not a prisoner," he said, placing a pillow behind her. "You don't have to sneak around." Kalara hated the way her body shook. She wasn't used to weakness. On her homeworld, weakness meant death. But here she was, alive. "Because of him, I could kill you," she said. Jake raised an eyebrow. "You could try." That made her pause. He didn't say it like a threat, more like a joke. "You know what I am?" she asked. Jake nodded. "Alien soldier. Battle-trained. Dangerous. That about right?" She narrowed her eyes. "You know. My people, only stories. Your kind has never contacted Earth officially, but a few of you pass through deep space. I've seen crash logs, pirate chatter." She studied him carefully. "And yet, you saved me." Jake leaned against the wall and folded his arms. "Yeah, I guess I'm not very good at following orders, even when they come from space." She didn't understand him fully, not yet. But something in his voice made her listen. "I was told your kind was cruel," she said. "That humans would torture prisoners, that you fear what you don't understand." Jake laughed quietly. "They're not wrong, but some of us are different." He walked over to the table and picked up a small device. A translator. He placed it gently in her hand. "You can use this to talk properly. It's old, but should sync with your implant." She hesitated, then took it. A small beep, then a low vibration in her ear. Language connected. She looked at him again, this time with a slightly clearer view. The tired human wasn't a soldier, not a leader. Just one man alone, keeping old machines alive on a forgotten moon. And yet, he had brought a dying alien into his home. "You live here alone?" she asked. "Yeah, 6 months at a time. Monitoring the mining bots. Sending reports to Earth." Boring stuff. She didn't know the word boring, but understood the meaning. He continued, "No one comes here. So when your pod crashed, you were the most interesting thing to happen in weeks." That word interesting stung her pride. "I'm not a pet," she said sharply. Jake nodded. "Didn't say you were." Silence. Then he asked, "What's your name?" She hesitated. No human had ever asked her name. To her people, names were private. But something told her this moment mattered. "Kalara," she said softly. Jake smiled. "Nice to meet you, Kalara. I'm Jake." For the first time, she didn't feel like a target. Not a weapon, just a person, but the piece didn't. LASD. A loud beep echoed from a console on the wall. Jake stood quickly and walked over. He tapped a few keys. His face changed. "What is it?" Kalara asked, her senses alert. Jake didn't answer right away. Then he turned to her, eyes sharp. "There's a ship near orbit, military type, not human." Her heart stopped. "Vresh," she whispered. "Her own people." Jake looked at her. "They're scanning the moon. Looking for something. Or someone." Kalara stood up, ignoring the pain. They'll kill me if they find me alive. Jake didn't blink. Then we won't let them. She looked at him. For the first time in her life, she didn't know what side she was on. Her people had left her to die. A human had brought her back to life. And now, the war wasn't out there. It was coming here. The moon was silent, but Kalara could feel the war breathing just above it. She stood by the round window of Jake's outpost, eyes locked on the black sky. Somewhere out there, hidden in the dark, her people's ship watched. Not with care, not with hope, but with suspicion. And orders to finish what the battlefield didn single quotes T. Jake worked behind her, checking scanners, typing commands into old machines that beeped and blinked like nervous birds. He didn't ask questions. Not yet. Kalara had not spoken since the ship appeared. She was thinking, calculating. A warrior trained for battle, but not for this. Being hunted by her own kind, while standing beside the very creature she was raised to destroy. She turned suddenly. We have 20 hours, maybe less. Jake looked. Up. You sure? They'll scan the surface. Search heat signatures. Energy spikes. If they find this base, they'll land, he finished. And if they land? Kalara's eyes were cold. Then we both die. Silence. Jake leaned back in his chair, rubbing the back of his neck. All right. Then we stay hidden. You don't understand, she said. You're already involved. My scent, my DNA, my armor, it's all over this place. They'll know I lived. And they'll know who helped me. He looked at her, calm but serious. So, what do we do? She hesitated. Her body still ached, but her mind was clear. Her voice was quiet. We prepare for war. Hours passed. The small outpost became a quiet storm. Kalara mapped the base, every hallway and storage room. She moved like a shadow, light on her feet, making mental notes. Jake followed, watching her closely. She had changed. She woke up, less angry, more focused, less like an enemy, more like a soldier without a flag. In the control room, Kalara found an old touchscreen terminal. This connects to the power grid? She asked. Yeah, Jake said. Why? We can reroute the power, overload specific rooms, create false heat spots, confuse their sensors. Jake gave a low whistle. Not bad. She didn't respond. Just worked. Her fingers moved fast, sharp. Later, in the supply bay, she opened a crate and found coils of wire and battery packs. Jake raised an eyebrow. What's that for? Traps, she said, in case they send scouts. He gave a crooked grin. Remind me not to make you angry again. For a second, something strange happened. She smiled, just a little. But it was there. That night, Jake showed her something. Come with me, he said. She followed him up a narrow ladder to the roof. Above them, stars glowed like cold fire. He pointed to a small black device set up on a tripod. Telescope, he said. Old school, but it works. She bent down, looked through it. For a moment, she forgot everything. The stars were so clear. So close. You see that blue one? He asked. She nodded. That's Earth, my home. Kalara stared longer than she meant to. Earth, a place her people called primitive, weak, chaotic. But if this human was from there, maybe it wasn't all weakness. What does your world look like? Jake asked. She looked at him. We don't have blue skies or oceans. Everything is metal and dust. We are born to serve the war, not live with beauty. Jake nodded. Sounds lonely. Kalara said nothing. But deep inside, she agreed. Back inside, the warning alarm finally beeped. Jake checked the monitor. They've sent a drone. Kalara didn't flinch. Just one? For now. They watched it descend on the far side of the moon ridge. A dark silver shape, smooth, silent, searching. Kalara moved quickly. We need to make them believe I died. Jake blinked. How? She grabbed her old armor, still cracked and bloodstained. She ripped out her chestplate and showed him. This piece, she said, contains a personal energy signature. If we overload it, scatter the remains ... They'll think I was vaporized. Jake stared. Will that work? It has to. They went outside, under the low stars, into the dead gray dust. Kalara planted the armor near a crater, then set the device. Jake took a deep breath. You sure about this? No, she said. But I'd rather die in a lie than be executed for surviving. She looked at him, eyes hard. When this explodes, we go dark. No signals, no movement. Hide everything. He nodded. Kalara pressed the button. A quiet pulse. Then dash boom. A sharp flash lit the crater. Fire and dust flying into the cold sky. From orbit. It would look like a death. A clean vapor burn. No body left. Jake looked at her. If they believe it, what now? Kalara stared at the smoking crater. Now ... I live a life that doesn't belong to me. Jake's voice was low. Maybe that's the only kind worth living. She looked at him. For the first time, her war-trained heart felt something she couldn't name. Not trust. Not yet, but something close. The stars were watching her. Kalara sat alone on the cold roof of the outpost. Her legs crossed, her back straight, her eyes locked on the black sky above. She wore the remains of her armor like a memory half-battle suit, half-ghost. It had been 13 hours since the fake explosion. The Vresh ship was still in orbit, still scanning, still waiting. They hadn't left. They didn't believe she was dead. Not yet. Below her, inside the outpost, Jake was sleeping on a cot with a wrench in his hand, like a soldier too stubborn to admit he wasn't one. He had saved her. Fed her, shared his telescope. Risked everything, and now he might die because of her. Kalara closed her eyes. She touched her temple, activating a small hidden transmitter built deep into her skin. One she hadn't used in years. It was dangerous tech only used by field commanders in emergencies. And this was an emergency. She took a deep breath. This is Kalara of Vresh Unit 7. She whispered, her voice shaking. Status: injured, alone, alive, mission compromised. Awaiting orders. There was silence. Then ... A voice, cold, mechanical, familiar. Kalara. Confirm you are not compromised by human contact. She didn't speak. Kalara, answer. I was saved by a human male, she said slowly. He is not military. He repaired my wounds. Protected me. Compromised. No, she said firmly. I am still loyal. Then kill the human. We will send recovery team. Prove your loyalty. Her heart stopped. Repeat, she said. Kill the human. Dispose of evidence. Signal us for extraction. She ended the call. No. Goodbye. No second thoughts from them. Just a simple order. Kill Jake. She stayed on the roof for a long time. Below, the outpost lights blinked gently. A small lonely building on a forgotten moon. Inside it, the only living being who had ever treated her like more than a weapon was still asleep. Kalara's fingers tightened around the edge of her blade. She could end this, right now. One clean cut, and her people would come. They would accept her back, give her purpose. A new mission, a new war. Or she could disappear. Live. In the shadows of a dead moon. With a human. With kindness. With questions. No mission. No orders, no war. Could she even do that? Was she built for peace? Jake woke up to the sound of metal feet on the floor. He sat up, blinking. Kalara stood in the doorway, wearing full armor helmet in her hands, blade on her hip. I made contact, she said. Jake rubbed his eyes. With your people? She nodded. He sat up straighter. And they ordered me to kill you. The room went silent. Jake didn't move, didn't panic. Just stared at her. Are you going to? He asked softly. Kalara looked at him. No. That one word felt like thunder. Jake exhaled slowly. Then what are you going to do? She looked down at her armor. I don't know. I've never made a choice before. Everything I did, every mission, every kill, it was always someone else's order. Never mine. Jake stood up and walked to her. He didn't reach out. Just stood close. Well, he said, then this is your first real decision. She looked up. And if they come anyway? Jake gave a tired smile. Then we make it their last mistake. Later that night, they buried the transmitter in the crater. Kalara crushed it with her boot until sparks flew and smoke hissed into the air. No more orders. No more voices in her ear. Jake watched her as she turned and walked back toward the outpost. The stars above them said nothing. But in the silence between worlds, a warrior had made her choice. Not to go home. Not to run. But to stay. To fight. To live on her own terms. Even if it meant dying beside a human. The warning came as a whisper. Not a sound. Not a signal. Just a feeling deep in Kalara's bones. Like a storm approaching before the wind changes. She froze in the hallway, mid-step. The ceiling lights flickered. The air in the base felt suddenly heavier. Jake walked up behind her with a half-eaten protein bar in one hand. You okay? She didn't answer. Her head turned slowly toward the long hallway that led to the airlock. They're here, she said. Jake stopped chewing. 3 minutes later, the scanners confirmed. It, unmarked shuttle, Jake said, staring at the screen. No ID, not broadcasting anything. Just floating down, silent. Kalara stepped beside him. Her eyes narrowed. It's a Vresh hunter ship, small, stealth armor, one purpose. Jake looked at her, which is elimination. He looked back at the monitor. Well, that's comforting. The ship touched down 5 kilometers from the base, just over the horizon. No light. No heat signature. Could be drones, Jake said hopefully. Kalara shook her head. No, drones don't think. This one ... will. Jake leaned back in his chair. How many are they sending? She looked out the window. Only one. That's good? No, she replied. It means they sent the best. An hour passed. Kalara suited up fully for the first time. Jake had helped repair her armor days earlier. Now it fit like a second skin, sleek, sharp, deadly. Jake followed her to the weapons rack. We don't have much. A few plasma cutters, welding torches. I've got an old bolt rifle for mining collapse. Give me the rifle, she said. Jake handed it over. And keep the torch, she added. If they get inside, burn the control panel. Don't let them take the base. Jake looked at her for a long second. What if they take you? Kalara's voice was ice. They won't. The hunter moved through the moon's dust like a ghost. Kalara watched from the ridge, lying flat on her stomach, her pulse slow and focused. The Vresh hunter wore adaptive armor that shimmered like empty space. A mask covered its face. Not male, not female, just death in motion. A blade on each wrist. A scanning lens glowing red. Kalara recognized it. It was one of her old instructors. They had trained together. Now they would kill each other. She whispered into her come. He's alone. I'll intercept. Jake's voice came back. Don't do anything crazy, she replied. Too late for that. Kalara moved quickly, silently. Using the rocks as cover, the hunter stopped near a broken antenna, part of the outpost's old comm system. Exactly where the false energy signal was planted, Kalara waited. Watched. The hunter leaned down to scan the device. She stood. A sharp click echoed across the rock. The hunter turned just as Kalara aimed the bolt rifle and fired. Boom. A flash of heat, a burst of light, smoke curling in the low gravity. The hunter flew backward, armor smoking. Kalara didn't wait. She ran, blades out. They met in the dust. Metal crashed. Sparks flew. The silence of the moon made the fight feel unreal. No shouting, no cries, just movement and breath. The hunter was faster, she was smarter. He slashed left, she ducked. He struck high, she rolled, and stabbed low. His blade grazed her shoulder. Blood, but she didn't stop. She kicked him off balance and slammed him into a rock. Helmet cracked, faceplate shattered. And for the first time, she saw his eyes. Cold. Empty. And still. He hesitated. So did she. Just long enough for him to whisper, "You chose a human over your people." Kalara leaned close. "I chose someone who didn't leave me to die." Then she drove the blade through his chest. The light in his eyes flickered, then faded. Jake was waiting at the airlock, covered in dust, breathing hard. She stepped inside. "You're bleeding," he said. "He's dead," she replied. Jake took a shaky breath and handed her water. Kalara didn't drink it. She just looked at the stars through the window. "They'll send more," she said. Jake nodded. "Then we'll send them back." "No," she said. "This isn't about hiding anymore." Jake frowned. "Then what?" Kalara looked at her. Reflection in the glass, half warrior, half stranger. "I'm going to end this, not run, not hide." Jake stared at her. "You mean go after them?" She nodded slowly. "Alone?" She looked at him. "Not if you come with me." The moon was no longer quiet. It bled fire now. Jake's outpost shook as another blast hit the far ridge. Dust rained from the ceiling. Warning lights blinked red. Systems screamed. Oxygen filters hissed in protest. Inside the control room, Kalara moved like lightning. Not with fear, but with purpose. "They sent a second ship," she said. "Heavy squad. 5 hunters." Jake gripped the rail. 5? That's not a recovery team. That's an execution squad. Kalara nodded once. "Then we give them a reason to fail." He looked at her. "You're serious?" "I'm alive because of you," she said. "Now they want to erase that truth. I won't let them." Her voice was calm. "Steady. Too steady." They split up. Kalara rewired the gravity fields in the loading bay. She set traps under the emergency vents and powered down the lights in 3 key corridors. If the hunters came inside, they'd enter a maze of shadows, smoke, and death. Jake stayed in engineering, working on backup systems and floodlights. He wore a chest plate, now barely armored, just enough to not die instantly. "This isn't the fight I trained for," he said over comms. Kalara's voice came through his earpiece, clear and sharp. "Then fight like a human. You adapt. You survive." Jake smiled grimly. "Was that a compliment? Don't make me regret it." When the hunters came, they didn't sneak. They slammed through the atmosphere like gods falling from orbit. Black armor, red visors. No words, just war. Kalara met the first one near the reactor chamber. She didn't speak, didn't warn. She dropped from the ceiling and drove a spike into his neck before he even turned. The second one came from behind. She rolled under his blade, grabbed his arm, and redirected the strike straight into his own chest. Brutal, efficient, but not cold. This time, she wasn't fighting for orders. She was fighting for someone. Jake held his ground near the core, torch in hand, wires bundled like a nest at his feet. He heard footsteps, heavy, sharp, close. He pulled the old bolt rifle off the wall. "Come on, you shiny bastards," he whispered. The third hunter turned the corner and stepped into Jake's trap. Boom, flash charge. Pure white light. The hunter staggered, sensors overloaded. Jake aimed and fired twice. Armor cracked. But not enough. The hunter roared and charged. Then before Jake could reload, Kalara slammed into the hunter from behind. Blade flashing. They fought like thunder, alien versus alien. Jake stood frozen, watching her move. Fast, focused, beautiful. In the way a storm is beautiful, terrifying, and powerful. When the hunter finally fell, Kalara turned to Jake. Her eyes were wide. Her shoulder was bleeding. "You're not bad," she said. For a soft one, Jake gave a shaky laugh. You're not so bad for a metal lady. She blinked, then laughed softly. Just once. The last two hunters retreated to the airlock. Trapped. Desperate. Kalara looked at Jake. You want to end this? Jake tossed her a power cell. Let's burn the past. They moved like a unit, now human and alien. Side by side. In the final corridor, smoke rose from the vents. Lights flickered. Kalara threw a charge. It landed at the hunter's feet. Boom. When the smoke cleared, the only ones standing were the ones who chose each other. Outside, the moon was quiet again. Kalara stood with her armor dented, visor cracked, and blood dried on her arms. Jake limped beside her, holding a melted torch and a busted cum. They looked up at the stars, still watching, still waiting. Jake asked, You think they'll keep sending more? Kalara shook her head. No, they'll assume I'm dead, again. And this time, she said, I'll let them believe it. Jake looked at her. So, what now? She looked out at the horizon. Her voice was soft. I fought for orders. Then I fought for survival. Today, I fought for you. Jake didn't say anything. He just stood beside her, letting silence say the rest. It was quiet now. The kind of quiet that felt like the end of a long war. No alarms, no enemy ships. No heavy boots stomping through the dust, just a slow sunrise. Over the edge of the moon, Kalara stood at the rim of a crater, staring up at the stars fading into blue-black sky. Her armor was cracked, her weapons gone. The wind tugged gently at her now loose braid. Behind her, the outpost still stood. Burned, broken, but alive. Jake came up beside her, limping slightly. His face was bruised, and one arm was in a sling. He held two mugs, both steaming. Figured warriors drink tea too, he said. Kalara took one, sniffed it. Sweet. Simple. Human. She sipped. Then, after a long pause, It tastes like Earth, Jake smiled. That's the idea. They sat together on a fallen antenna, overlooking the dust plains. For a while, no one spoke. Then Kalara asked, Do you know what happens to a Vresh warrior who disappears in combat? Jake shook his head. She's erased, Kalara said. Records deleted. Names stripped. No history, no legacy. Like she never lived at all. Jake looked at her. And is that what you want? Kalara didn't answer right away. Then, I don't want to be remembered for what I was. He turned to her. Then what do you want? She looked up. I want to start again. Later that day, they loaded the last of the supplies onto the Earth shuttle. It was old, rusty, patched, barely space-worthy. But Kalara had reprogrammed the Vresh tech inside, syncing it with human systems. She made it flyable. Jake checked the nav panel. You sure about this? You won't get a warm welcome back on Earth. Kalara raised an eyebrow. Neither will you if they find out what I am, he shrugged. So we'll go somewhere quiet. Plenty of quiet towns on the outer colonies. People ask fewer questions there. Kalara stepped inside the shuttle. She paused at the doorway. This was it. The moment she stopped being a soldier. Stopped being Reish. And started becoming something new. She looked over her shoulder at the dead moon. It had been her grave. And her rebirth. They launched just before sunset. The engines groaned, but held. The shuttle lifted off, slow and steady, breaking the moon's grip and climbing toward the stars. Inside, Kalara watched through the window as the moon shrank below them. Jake sat beside her. No regrets? She gave a small smile. Too many. But not this. The stars stretched before them. New systems. New planets. New skies. Jake leaned back and closed his eyes. What do you think you'll be when we get there? Kalara didn't answer right away. Then in a whisper, human.